Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another action-packed episode of EBC Sports International. I'm Michael Hudson, coming at you from the Emerald City in Seattle, Washington. We're going to get right into it. I'm going to first introduce to all of you our friendly panelists for tonight. First and foremost, we have Ken Cruz from Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C., representing USA. Let's go right here, USA, USA.
USA, baby. I love it. Next, we have from Alexandria, Virginia, our always handsome EJ Gonzalez.
That's you, Mike, but I appreciate it. Good to be here with you guys, man. Ready to talk some sports. Basketball's done, but Olympics is right around the corner. It's starting now, baby.
Oh, yeah.
For Philippines right now. Woo!
Ooh, getting introduced. Love it. And then last but not least, we have from the Philippines, Ben Bernaldez.
Labang Pilipinas! Hi guys, and welcome back to the program. And really excited about the Olympics. We have 19 Filipino athletes competing for the first ever Olympic gold. That's very exciting. And also we have our friend Gab Ferreras celebrating his birthday, our avid fan and supporter of our show.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Well, hey, thanks for joining us this week, everybody. And again, though we love talking about sports, we are by no means experts, but just a group of friends who love sports. Now let's get started with some sports news. First, Ken has some NFL news for us from Lambeau Field concerning Aaron Rodgers. Ken?
Yes, sir. Well, signs aren't looking great for the Green Bay Packers as their franchise quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, as many know, turned down a 2-year extension offer this offseason, as reported by ESPN's NFL insider Adam Schefter. Sources said the deal would have made Rodgers the reigning NFL MVP, the highest paid quarterback and player in the league, and would have extended his tenure in Wisconsin for another 5 years. Schefter reported in April that the reason Rodgers didn't want to return to the team was because of management. One of the main reasons being that the general manager, Brian I'm going to mispronounce Gutekunst, I think that's the way you pronounce it, failed to give him advance notice that the team would draft a quarterback, Jordan Love, in 2020. Management, on the other hand, have publicly stated that they won't trade their star quarterback. For the first time in his career, Rodgers did not show up to voluntary OTAs this summer, and with training camp set to start next week on July the 28th, there have been no announcements as to whether or not Aaron Rodgers will report with this team. Time will tell if Rodgers will continue his team absence, but Rodgers has been making the most of his free time with public appearances as the host of Jeopardy and participating in TV golf tournaments with Tom Brady, as we saw a couple weeks back. Well, back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Kenny. Appreciate it. Next, we have some golf as well as some minor Olympic news coming from EJ. What do you have for us, my man?
Yeah, Mike. So over the past weekend, another major championship was at stake in the UK at Royal St. George's Golf Course. Entering the final round on Sunday, the final pairing hosted Louis Oosthuizen, who held the lead throughout the entire tournament, and COLLIN Morikawa, but trailing only by 1 stroke. Now, the two shared a lead after hole 4 when Oosthuizen made bogey, but momentum shifted on hole 7 when Morikawa scored his first birdie of the day and Oosthuizen made yet another bogey. Now, Morikawa followed up the birdie on hole 7 with an additional 2 consecutive birdies on holes 8 and 9, which helped him lengthen the gap between him and the rest of the pool. John Rahm and Jordan Spieth put up a fight towards the end of the tournament, but in the end, the claret jug was claimed by the 24-year-old COLLIN Morikawa. Now, COLLIN sets numerous records after his win, including the second lowest final score in the Open Championship history at -15. And he joined Tiger Woods as the only players to win the Open and the PGA Championship before the age of 25. And COLLIN was the very first player to win 2 different major tournaments in his first attempt, in his debut. So COLLIN Morikawa's young career is off to a hot start as he has won his second major in just 8 major starts. Morikawa will also be competing in the Tokyo this coming week. And speaking of Tokyo, the COVID cases continue to pile up as there have been 106 recorded cases among those participating at the Olympics since July 1st. Now, the city has experienced a spike in cases with 1,979 cases recorded on Thursday, which is the highest total recording in one day over the last 6 months. Now, earlier this week, Toshiro Muto, the chief of the Tokyo Games Committee, spoke at a news conference earlier and did not rule out the last-minute cancellation of the games. But so far, the opening ceremony was held earlier today and right now as we speak, and the health of these athletes and others within the Olympic Village will continue to be closely monitored. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, E. So today, like what EJ said, marked the beginning of the Olympics, and the opening ceremonies have commenced already, and the replay is actually playing right now. So Ben has some more news for us concerning the Olympics. What do you have for us, Ben?
Right, Mike. Prior to the opening ceremonies, there are some sports that had already been played, like the rowing. The Philippines rowing champion Chris Nibares has placed in the top 3 of the men's single sculls and is advancing to the quarterfinals at the Tokyo Olympics. Chris Nibares of Atemonan, Quezon is the first Filipino athlete to see action in the Tokyo Olympics as the Quadrennial Games' first event on the opening day. The 21-year-old Filipino rower clocked 7 minutes and 22.97 seconds to place third in Heat 5 held at the Sea Forest Waterway in Tokyo, Japan. Nibares reached the finish line after Croatia's champion Damir Martin first with 7 minutes 9.17 seconds, and Russian champion Alexander Yazovkin second, 7 minutes 14.95. So as you can see, he battled with the former champions and current champion in the sculling event. The Filipino, along with other top 3 finishers, earned outright berths to the quarterfinals. And of course, the opening ceremony has already started as well. And it took place yesterday in the stadium. A year-long pandemic postponed a build-up marred by scandalous and controversy. But just to give you a recap, it's the most low-key opening ceremony in all the Olympics that has been conducted in many years. And we all know that there are so many controversies surrounding it. But according to Thomas Bach, we cannot delay this Olympics. So it has to be done and played, and because they would incur more losses if this Olympic will not be.
Thanks so much, B. So our last story for tonight comes from Tampa Bay, where the recent Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers showed off their hardware in the form of their rings, which were revealed to the players in a private ceremony for the players, coaches, front office personnel, and their families. Now get this, guys. According to team representatives, the ring included 319 diamonds. It had 15 carats of white diamonds, 14 carats of yellow diamonds, which reflect the Super Bowl's 31-9 final score. There's a twist-off removable top on the top of the Super Bowl ring. On the bottom of the removable top is laser etched in gold the word historic to commemorate the accomplishment. The top also features 2 Lombardi trophies as a nod to the BUCS 2002 Super Bowl win as well. It also shows a replica when you take off the removable top of their home stadium, and on the sides it has the 4 scores from the 4 opponents that BUCS beat during the playoffs. And these rings were made by famous ring manufacturer Tiffany. That's all the sports updates for this week. Time for a quick break, and when we return, we open up talking about the BUCS winning their first NBA title in 50 years. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Pinag-uusapan ang mga technopreneurs dahil sa paglaganap ng internet, pero dahil nasa agrikultura ang solusyon sa kahirapan, kailangang maipauso na rin natin ang agripreneurs. Isa sa mga nagpapalaganap ng kahalagahan ng agripreneurship ay ang Go Negosyo. At para lalong maunawaan ang kahalagahan ng agripreneurship, makakasama natin ang Senior Advisor for Agripreneurship and Mindanao Programs Head ng Go Negosyo, Ms. Kingay Montiveros Malvar.
digitalization is a great democratizer. It really equalizes the playing field at saka yung opportunities para sa mga tao. Ang dami nagbebenta online. So how will you make yourself unique? How will you make yourself attractive?
All these in this episode of Open for Business.
Hey sports fans, welcome back to EBC Sports International. I'm your host, Michael Hudson. So this past Tuesday marked history as the Milwaukee Bucks, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo, won their first NBA World Championship in 15 years. Giannis dominated the entire series, especially Game 6, as he dropped 50 points and gave the Bucks the win 105-98, winning the series 4-2 against the Phoenix Suns. He also won the NBA Finals MVP award to cap off an amazing season. EJ, we're going to start with you tonight. How did the Bucks pull it off?
The guy, man, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the guy is a freak, man, the Greek freak, and he played incredibly. Honestly, man, I've never seen anybody have to carry a team the weight that he carried for the Bucks the entire series long. Now, I know, I get it. Last week we were talking here. Jeremy was on here, and he said Chris Middleton was in the running for MVP. And I after one game that he scored 40, where Giannis also still scored 35 that game or 30 something. Giannis just literally carried them every single game, even the games that they lost. He was still putting up crazy numbers. I think the biggest thing for me, though, which I said last week, was Giannis was scoring at least 30 points, 15 rebounds, and close to 10 assists, almost a triple-double, really, all the way up till Game 6. And I was saying, if he was just making his free throws, the dude would average 50. And he did. He made his free throws in Game 6, 17 of 19 from the line, which I think is like the most tremendous bounce back for a player in NBA Finals history. I mean, the dude was shooting less than 60%. I think it was like 50%, 55% from the line the entire playoffs. And then the game that counted the most, he pulled his weight where he needed to, and he made his free throws. And because of that, they're champions, because Chris Middleton only had 17 that game, and Drew Holiday went 1 for 12 in the closeout game. It was Giannis. Giannis is the reason why the Bucks have ended their 50-year drought and are now NBA champions.
Good take, EJ. Yeah, what I found surprising was just how the Phoenix Suns' defensive strategy. I mean, the entire series, they were just pretty Giannis one-on-one. They believed in Ayton. I don't blame him, because Ayton's a really good defender. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have to look at past success from other teams, such as the Miami, who basically built a wall to beat Giannis. Toronto, same thing. But yeah, much props to Giannis. I mean, he rose to the challenge and basically stepped up every single game. Ken, I do have a question for you. So with this win for the Bucks, what does this do for Giannis's legacy moving forward?
I mean, he's 26, and he's already top 5 power forward of all time, easily. I mean, it's one of those things where that was like this. Let's not forget the fact that just 2 weeks ago, this guy thought his season was over because his leg bent backwards 45, 50 degrees. And for him to return in such a short amount of time and dominate, not just hobble along like someone else we all know, CP3, I'm him. I mean, CP3, he still had a great series. We'll talk about that in a second. But back to Giannis, the guy came back and literally averaged 35, 13 and a half, and 5 assists, along with 1.2 steals and 1.8 blocks. It actually looked like he averaged 5 blocks a game, honestly, just by eye, just on eye, on the eye test. He looked like he was altering almost every single shot. Especially that last game against DeAndre Ayton, who was before this series averaging 70% from the field. He was 2 for 20 against this team. And I mean, EJ talked about it just right now, but like there was true Mamba mentality. Like he wanted it more than anybody else. And if there's anyone that can actually like will them to win, it was this guy, because he has the physical gifts for it. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, it looked like it was going to be a bad day for both Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, and it was, in a sense. Chris kind of showed up a little bit, but I mean, for Giannis, it really showed just how much his will impacted both sides of the court. Speaking of both sides of the court, real quick, it was like I just gotta shout out Drew Holiday, man. Like he got so much slander. I know this on the side. He got so much slander for shooting horribly this entire series, pretty much the entire playoffs, right? Except for like 1 or 2 games. But guess who led the entire series in assists? Not CP3. It was Drew Holiday with 9.3 assists per game. And guess who led the series in plus minus? Also Drew Holiday with 6.2, which means that anytime he's on the court, this guy is a net positive
impact.
And really, anyone that he was on like had a bad day. Like if he was on CP3 had a bad day. If he was on Devin Booker had a bad day. It literally the guy was just locked down. And as great as Giannis was at defense, this guy Drew Holiday is the truth. He was their defensive anchor, and I have to give the dude his roses, his flowers, his roses, every single thing that gift of praise. It just really shows that you don't have to be a star offensive player. You can still excel in defense and win championships. Literally, that is the phrase. Defense wins championships, and that is what this team did. I am so happy for these Bucks. I mean, it's really hard to dislike this team, especially since one of the big knocks that a lot of the recent teams that have won is that they're built super teams, right? I mean, I kind of have to say that even for the Lakers. I mean, AD forced his way into the Lakers, but I mean, I'm not complaining. I didn't do that. I'll take whatever the Lakers get. But this team was built organically. Chris Middleton, 2nd round pick. Giannis, 15th pick in a really bad draft. Drew Holiday was signed on, but I mean, like Brook Lopez, Lakers didn't want him. I mean, this is a team that was put together organically, and man, and they didn't even have a great coach. Coach Bud, we all knew, was about to get fired, and they still, despite all of the things, despite looking like they didn't even want this championship, still won. And so, props to you, Milwaukee. Props to the Deer District, and props to all these players. Giannis, you're my dude.
Oh man, I don't know how LeBron's going to react to that, but
he'll bounce back. Don't worry.
We'll continue with that. So Ben, a quick question for you. So, there was a lot of injuries this year. I mean, if you look at the Bucks' entire path, they were just riddled with injuries, especially with the Nets losing, 2 of their top players in the series. So with this championship, would you put an asterisk next to it, or would you even put that much stock into this win because of, the injuries that plagued the other teams that the Bucks played down the stretch?
Well, for me, let's not look into the injuries as to why the Bucks won the championship. Of course, they went through so many struggles as well in their team. They had some injuries as well with the Suns. I think let's give they deserve the credit. The Bucks, they deserve to win. And this championship match with the Suns, either way, whoever wins, it's a great finals for this year compared to the previous year where Super Team won. And with the age of Super Team now, I think this will start a trend for players to stay with their team, like what Giannis did. It's the hard. During his interview, he said, "This is the hard way to win," and we did it. And he said to his team. And I think, as a player, if you go to that route, as you look at the Jordan, Kobe, all of them had a great support system as well. They endured injuries, and for other teams, if they were healthy, I'm sure they would. It would be a different scenario, but it's a game of basketball. Players get injured, and you still have to be healthy. And we'll see if next season, if most team, the super teams, will be healthy, and if they are going to, if the BUCS still win another championship, I guess it's a different story for them.
Absolutely. So yeah, congratulations to Milwaukee Bucks. They definitely wanted it more just based on the eye test, and we will see what happens if they can repeat. But we'll talk about Giannis more later in the show. But right now we're just going to switch to the other side of the coin. The Phoenix Suns, led by CP3. They obviously lost after having a 2-0 lead in the series, and then they dropped 4 straight. And CP3, aka the point god, has yet again failed to win his first NBA championship. So Ken, we'll start with you on this topic. What did this loss do to Chris Paul's legacy?
Stepping up it for sure. I mean, he is the last few playoff series that he's lost. A lot of times it was injury of himself or his co-star, or what's weird is that the OK series last year, it made him look great because it was an underperforming team, and kind of the Suns were kind of that story too. I think especially when Giannis went down there, and he came back, they thought and they were up 2-0. I mean, I think everyone's kind of forgetting that, right? I mean, Suns were up 2-0. They literally just had to win 2 more games out of 5, and didn't win a single game again. And I forgot which reporter asked that question about how CP3 was about losing leads or something, and CP3 was let's not talk about that. And then it's exactly what happened in reality, and it's just so disappointing. I mean, yes, I think he also had. I mean, remember he started off that Lakers series with a bum shoulder. I think he messed up both of his wrists. He's 36, so, and he's got a lot of miles on him. But I mean, he's a leader of this team, and it was a very unimpressive CP3 over. I mean, yes, he had he averaged 21.8 points. That's great. 8.2 assists. That's not great for him. But what really put him off? 3.5 turnovers per game, and his plus minus negative 1.8 for the series. And that's not point guard numbers. It really isn't. I mean, there were times where he was shying away, and it looked like what's his name? Cameron Payne looked like the main point guard for big spurts, important spurts of the series. And I think for CP3, that is not acceptable even at this age. And one thing that really made me root against him, and it's not because of just this one play, but it's because he is notorious for these dirty plays, including that play where Drew Holiday, it's an iconic play. It's probably going to be one of the plays that is based off of the future Giannis statue, where Drew stole the ball, ripped it from Devin Booker, took it to the other side of the court, alley-oop to Giannis for a dunk over CP3. Everyone forgets that CP3 pushed Giannis, and if Giannis didn't grab that rim, he would have flown, and that could have been a season finals ending injury. And that is not something that he's done just once. This is something that he does regularly, and I think that this is something that needs to be addressed for someone that is as quote unquote stand up as a character as CP3 is. He does some dirty things.
Gotcha. So we have about a minute left. So Ben, just quick question for you. So what does Phoenix do moving forward? Do they re-sign CP3? Should he return? Should he go to another team? What do you think?
Well, I think they have good chemistry, and I hope Chris Paul will give it another try in the Valley and win the finals in his career. They had a good run, and I think not thinking about his
Ben,
He's
quick
being
question for you.
agent.
Would you pay him $44 million, which is
That's
what he's
actually going
owed?
to that. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to that.
Would you would do that?
That really depends. If the management of the Suns was willing to pay him that amount and go to the NBA Finals, I think it's worth for them. But they have to, I guess, remove some players in order for them to resign Chris Paul.
Gotcha. And EJ, any final thoughts about CB3? Where do you think he goes next year?
Yeah, no, I think the Suns over succeeded this year. It was due to CP3 though. So he's proven that he's still a viable point guard. He can lead a team, and he's proven it time and time again. But he's also proved that in the playoffs, 2-0 is not a safe lead. I think he's blown it 4 times. So now that's up in the air now for teams to think about. He's a great leader, but is he the guy who can lead you to finish a series? We don't know.
No, that's yet to be proven. Well, hey, thanks for your takes. You guys really do appreciate it. That's going to be the end for our first topics of tonight, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for some golf talk after this.
Sa Hulyo 26, mag-uulat sa bayan si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Alamin ng mga ilalahad na pulisiya, isusulong na panukala, plano at nagawa ng Duterte administration. State of the Nation Address. Mapapanood sa Net25 at eaglenewslive.com at mapapakinggan sa Radyo Agila DZEC 1062 kHz. Abangan din ang aming online updates sa Eagle News Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at website eaglenews.ph. State of the Nation Address, a Net25 special coverage.
Welcome back, everybody, to EBC Sports International. So we're going to switch lanes for just a brief moment before going back to the NBA. And we're going to talk about some golf, the PGA Tour, to be exact. As mentioned earlier by EJ, COLLIN Morikawa recently won his second major championship of his career and became the second golfer, the other being Tiger Woods, winning both the PGA Championship and the Open before the age of 25. So EJ, what do you think? Is COLLIN on pace to have a similar career like Tiger Woods?
Definitely on pace. Like I reported earlier, he's the second player, him and Tiger Woods, the only players to ever win the PGA and the Open Championship well, first of all, Collin's first attempts at both of those, and he wins it. That's incredible on its own. But he joins Tiger Woods as the only player to win it before the age of 25. COLLIN Morikawa is only 24, and when you look at his game, it's very old school, very methodical. I mean, now everybody praises the ones who can drive it so long, like Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy, which is a great asset to have as a golfer, right? I mean, if you could hit it far and accurate, that is a plus in your book. But if you look at COLLIN Morikawa, 177th on tour when it comes to driving distance, but he is ripping it in with his irons. His irons are as accurate, probably second to Tiger Woods in his prime. I mean, the guy is a wizard with his iron shots, and I don't know how many times he hits great bunker shots as well. I've seen amazing holeouts from the bunker, COLLIN Morikawa. So his short game is also there, and when his putting is on, it's on. I mean, I early in his career, he lost one of the tournaments because of I think like a 2 or 3 foot putt that would have sent it to another playoff hole, right? But I think he's learned from that, and he remains calm. He's cool. He talks with his caddy a lot, and he trusts his caddy, and I think that's a great relationship to have as a golfer. I mean, a lot of professional golfers have said if you have a great caddy and you have a good rapport with them, then it helps you a lot on the golf course. And Collin Morikawa, the guy is young, he's talented, and like I said, with his old school game and not having to put so much force in his drives, I think that's also going to help in his longevity as health, because obviously I think a lot of times that's how you throw out your back. I mean, look at Brooks Koepka. How many back injuries has he had? Because he relies on power. I really think that the sky's the limit for Collin Morikawa. Obviously, I'm a huge fan, but I think he's the second coming to Tiger Woods, if anything. I mean, Jordan Spieth is back up on his game as well, and I'm a fan of Jordan Spieth as well, but Collin Morikawa has a bright future. The guy's only 24.
Oh man, yeah, he's totally incredible. And what I find amazing, what you said, is just like, dude, he does not drive the ball far at all. Like, I mean, I play with my dad. When I play with my dad, he constantly drives it like close to 300 yards, and I mean, Collin drives it way below that. But his iron game, he's just so accurate from like 150 in, and it's just incredible. And they really compare that aspect of his game the most to Tiger because of the way he can shape his iron shots like on every hole. So it's just totally incredible. What I'm kind of curious to see is when he starts getting the praise and like the attention of winning majors. I want to see how he's going to react to that before I guess I make my decision on if he'll follow Tiger Woods' footsteps, because that type of pressure is like a whole new level as far as like bring when it counts and things of that nature. And Tiger was able to raise his game to even a higher level. So I'm pretty excited to see that. But I did have one more question for you. So Tiger, believe Tiger has 14 or 15 majors right now. How many do you think Collin will win in his career?
I mean, again, he won it in his first attempt, right? So it's crazy. And if we look back at his at the ones that he's lost, I think he missed one cut in one major, but the rest he's finished at least 18 or up. So it just goes to show that he's ready to play on a big stage. So I think by the end of his career, I hope he at least gets a Grand Slam, right? I mean, that's the obviously like that's the goal of every golfer. Rory's still chasing his, I believe. And Dustin Johnson doesn't have many majors. So I mean, that's the thing with golf. Anybody, you have to be on at the right time in order to win those majors. But again, Collin, 2 out of 8. That's a 25% rate at winning majors. So by the end of his career, I'm hoping at least a Grand Slam, but maybe 5. I just don't think it's so hard to imagine that Tiger Woods it has that many. I don't know how if anyone's going to be able to reach that in this modern golf, because everybody could play. Everybody on the field could play.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Tiger Woods obliterates that record if he doesn't get hurt and he doesn't go through the scandal and things like that. But yeah, really excited. It's always awesome to see, the up and coming talent, and we'll see if he'll be able to.
Definitely. And the Olympics. The Olympics is now hosting golf. They haven't had it since I think they had it for the first time in the Rio Olympics, and now there's the second time. So this is another thing that maybe Collin is able to add to his resume, something that Tiger Woods doesn't have, right? An Olympic gold medal. So it's going to be fun to know that golf is now in the Olympics and medals are up for grabs for these guys.
Yeah, totally, man, totally. So we're going to go back to basketball. So the NBA draft is set for next week, and the rumors are flying everywhere as to who's going to go number 1. A lot of experts are saying Cade Cunningham. Others are saying Jalen Suggs or Jalen Green from the G League. Ben, what are your predictions on the upcoming NBA draft?
One thing remains clear. Cade Cunningham is the consensus number 1 pick, showing in all the mock drafts out there. There's some changes in the number 2 pick. In the early weeks, it was Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs, and now Jalen Green went up to number 2. The number 2 spot has been shaken up previously. Like you said, Evan Mobley seemed to be the number 2 pick. But I think the Rockets are taking Jalen Green, who spent the last season with the Ignite G League, and also the number 1 high school player in the nation. Also coming on the number 3 spot would be Evan Mobley. A 4th spot would be Jalen Suggs. I'm just gonna name the first 12: Scotty Barnes, Jonathan Kuminga, James Bouknight or David Mitchell, then Keon Johnson, Franz Wagner on the 9th and 10th would be Josh Giddey. But for me, the most rookie will make an impact in the NBA would be, for me, Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham. With these two players, of course, Jalen being with the play with the G League, I think he has more explosiveness in him. He's also an all-around player. But with Cade Cunningham, with his size, and also these two will make an impact in the NBA come next season. And I think this is a good a test for them. Whoever in the top 3 spots, I think it's a good pick for whoever picks them. Of course, it will be a win for the Pistons getting Cade Cunningham in number 1 spot and Rockets Jalen Green.
Gotcha. Ken, drop some knowledge for us. What do you think is going to happen in the draft this year?
Well, I mean, as Ben mentioned, like it's Cade Cunningham draft. It really is. Like I don't see anyone else. I mean, I think Cade only worked out for one team. That's Detroit. And so I mean, I hope he likes cold winters because this is his near short-term, medium-term, and probably long-term future. They're looking to get back into the face of the NBA. I mean, he's going to have some sweet teammates. Jeremy Grant, future gold medalist, hopefully, for basketball. But I mean, you know, it's a very solid team, I think, that Detroit's going to have. But I mean, how far can they go in the East, especially with the Nets being there? I mean, I don't even know if they'll scratch into playoffs in the next 2-3 years. But I mean, they can form a solid skeleton of a solid team, and then add in some bets. I think that's a solid move. I mean, as far as just on a side note, I'm very disappointed. I get it, but I'm very sad that UCLA's Johnny Juzang took his name out of the draft and is going to play another year in UCLA. I get it. You want your win, you want your championship, but at the same time, dude, this is like he wasn't on draft boards until his. And this is why, you know, March Madness is magical. Is a lot of, and that's why a lot of these like top 5 names are like top 10 names actually in the draft boards, like were big performers in March Madness. It only elevates your spot on the draft boards. And so that Johnny Juzang went from not being on anyone's draft board to being a late first round, early second round pick. And he, like the only way that he can like really improve his draft board, his spot in draft board for next year's draft is to do better, and that's gonna be tough, man. Like, yeah. and I forgot who it was, but there have been a couple players in the past where they went back to school instead of going to the draft, and they underperformed, and that cost them a lot of money. But maybe now that because NCAA, college athletes can make money on the side now, that may be something that he took into consideration, and which is why he chose to go back to school. And I respect that. As far as the top guys for this year's draft, I'd say one of the guys to look out for is another star performer in March Madness, Jalen Suggs, going to Toronto. Why? Because there are rumors that Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are talking to go to where else? My team, Los Angeles Lakers, to be the Los Angeles LeBronto Lakers.
I thought you're a Giannis guy now.
I mean, speaking about these guys, it's like literally the theme is if you can't beat them, join them, right? I mean, can you imagine that squad, right?
Kevin Love is joining the Lakers, right?
I mean, we'll take them. Well, I mean, they can get rid of Kevin Love now, especially with Evan Mobley potentially going to the Cavs. Him and Jared Allen, that is a solid front court. And I think Evan Mobley, based on what I saw from his UCLA performance, him and his brother are like he can exist with another big, and so him and Jared Allen can kill it in Cleveland and be like second worst team in the league for another year. I mean, it's extremely sad seeing these great these teams just being in the same spot every single year, first, second, third pick. And just not improve. It's very unfortunate, but I mean, it's a lot. I don't know. I mean, like this is a great draft, I think, and I feel like a lot of these guys are going to be household names very, very soon. Watch out for them.
EJ, I wanted to get your thoughts on the draft as well as who you think will make an immediate impact in their first year in the NBA.
Well, definitely Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham. Obviously, I mean they're the big names. They're going to make an impact because the teams that are going to draft them are the ones that need help, right? Like the ones who are top picks always have the most, have the best chance of showing that they belong into the league just because that team's already sorry. They don't have any help. So that's why they're getting drafted first, right? So I want to talk about a little bit more of the sleepers. So one sleeper that I think I was looking, and this guy's, I believe, number like 27 or late second round pick is that people are predicting is Luka Garza. Now, I said this last year earlier this year during the NCAA tournament. The guy is training over there at the gym that we play at, right?
We see him on a weekly basis training.
Exactly.
He's working on his jumper.
I believe he cut down a lot of weight too. I think he. Exactly.
It shows. It really shows. He looks like a slim big now versus like a meaty big.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the guy's 7 foot. The guy he could shoot his free throws. A 7 footer who could shoot free throws, great. But I mean, the guy averaged 20 points in the NCAA, and he was the Big Ten Athlete of the Year. So I don't know why he's so low on so many of these boards. I think he makes an immediate impact. Reminds me like the Domantas Sabonis type player. And Domantas Sabonis has shown he's an all-star now in the league. So I think Luka Garza is a sleeper pick who would make an immediate impact wherever he lands. I wouldn't mind if the Wizards make a take at him, especially since he's training.
The opposite of what can happen, like a Mo Wagner or a Tyler Hansborough. That I think would be because those guys killed it in college as bigs, but then their game doesn't translate because they're a little too small. But he's putting gym work in SBC. So I think you're right. He's a great sleeper.
All right, guys, I have to cut you off there. Appreciate it. Thanks for your takes. That's it for round 2. When we come back, more NBA talk, most specifically Giannis's where he places on the all-time list of NBA greats. When we return after these moments.
Ito pong inyong lingkod, ang inyong kaibigan, Mr. Edwin Cando, na nag-aanyaya po sa inyong lahat na abangan niyo po at panoorin ang aking performance sa Letters and Music this coming Sunday, 1 p.m. only here at Net 25. Maraming salamat po.
Ito ang ating himig.
Ang OPM. Ito ang himig ng lahi.
Everybody, welcome back to EBC Sports International. I'm your host, Michael Hudson. So we talked about earlier the Milwaukee Bucks winning their first NBA championship in 50 years, with Giannis winning the Finals MVP. So many experts are already placing him on all-time lists, with Shaquille O'Neal even saying he is the most unstoppable player in the NBA today. So EJ, in your opinion, where does Giannis land on the all-time list when it comes to the NBA's greatest players ever to play?
All right, so I was looking this up where others are placing him. Complex puts him at 26. 26 all-time already, and that surpasses guys named Kawhi Leonard, Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton, and Allen Iverson. So I understand this because the guy's only 26. Giannis has a whole, and he's proven that he doesn't need a super team to win a championship. Again, as you mentioned, Mike, there was a lot of injuries that the BUCS were fortunate to, play against, right? Teams that were suffering from injury, but the Suns were healthy, and the Suns were the second best team in the NBA this year. Again, Giannis, I think, especially with the NBA finals performance that he did, put up 50 and averaged 35, 13, 5 on 67% field goal percentage. It just shows that he's unstoppable if he really turns it on. And if he makes his free throws, he would have averaged 50 the entire NBA finals. So I think it's safe to say I don't know any other basketball player we could compare Giannis to, because he's not a true center. But people are making him a big. But he's not a true center. He plays a power forward, but he has a great handle for a guy at his size. I think he's often seen running the point. So he could guard 1 through 5. So he has it on the defensive end, and he's shown that he has it on the offensive end as well, without taking jump shots or shooting free throws well, averaging 30. So the guy is definitely up there when it comes to all-time greats, especially if he adds more finals to his resume.
So speaking of finals, Ben, when it's all said and done, how many titles do you think Giannis can virtually win?
He's only 26. If he keeps up his performance, he's definitely will win more championship, and probably if LeBron retires and all other superstar retires, he may win 2 or 3 more championship in his career, and definitely he will be in the top 10 of all-time greats.
If he wins 3, I would definitely put him up.
Come on, are we really thinking the Nets have nothing to say about this? I mean, come on, if they're
let's see them get to the finals first, and then we'll talk.
Gotcha. So Ken, with that being said, what does Giannis have to do to jump on to that top 10? Does he have to win more championships? Does he have to put up more historic numbers? What do you think?
I mean, remember, he's, as I mentioned, he's a 15th pick, right? So his first couple of years were purely developmental. But I mean, even so, the guy has crazy accolades, right? 2 MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, also Most Improved Player. I mean, he's all NBA, both all NBA and all defensive NBA 3 times. And so the guy is just an absolute unit. And I mean, I'm not the top 10 whatever overall is a very, very difficult topic. It really is. But I'll quickly, I would go more so where would I put him in his position as a power forward? I mentioned earlier top 5 already, but who's he going to knock off? I don't know if he's ever going to knock off Tim Duncan, honestly. I mean, the guy's 5-time champion, right? I mean, and just great. And for me, what determines where you are on the ranking is if you're dominant on both sides of the court, not just on one side. And that's why I put him pretty much almost 2-3, right? Carmelo's supposedly the second best. Longevity, but he's never won a chip. So that kind of puts something, a little hamper on him. Then you have Dirk Nowitzki, amazing, great. I mean, also longevity, got himself a chip against Miami's big 3. But at the same time, too, they would hide him on defense. So that I would say he's around there. And then you have Charles Barkley, never won a chip, also dominant. I mean, the MVP also. So I mean, I would really put him around the same area at this point as Charles Barkley, Dirk Nowitzki, and Karl Malone. Not that he needs 1 or 2, maybe 3 more chips before we talk Tim Duncan, but at his position, he's already top 2, 3, 4, depending on who you talk to.
And EJ, last question. Do you think Giannis stays in Milwaukee? Is there any reason you think he would probably leave and go to another team?
You know, I feel like he's spoken about his loyalty to Milwaukee, and he made his promise in winning them a championship. And I think them winning a championship, now he's able to also start attracting stars to come to Milwaukee, showing that, look, we did it without a super team. Now you join me, we would win more championships. So I think he does stay in Milwaukee if he's able to find a way to attract more stars. And I think more chips would be in his future if he's able to do that. I think stay in Milwaukee, and we would be able to compare him better to Tim Duncan, who stayed with one franchise his entire season. And they would really be in the talks of who's the best power forward to ever play the game.
Good points, my friends. So we are now at the question of the show. As we all know, the Olympics are into high gear already with the opening ceremonies that are just kicking off in Tokyo, Japan. And so obviously these opening ceremonies give us some memorable moments for the entire event. So everybody, I'm going to go around and just tell me your favorite or your most memorable opening ceremony. I'm going to go first. Mine was Muhammad Ali lighting the torch in Atlanta. I remember I was 10 years old. My brother, my dad and I went to Atlanta. We didn't see the opening ceremonies, but we actually went there to the Olympic Village and stuff. It was a pretty sweet experience. How about you, EJ?
I wish I had an experience like that. And honestly, growing up, I never paid attention to the opening ceremony a lot. But I was looking it up, and one of I think the top moment they said was,
"Everybody, I'm Michael Hudson. We live in interesting times."
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Napaka-special po itong itina po ito. Ang ugali po ng mga tao po dito is mabait po sila. They treat you as one of their family. Gusto po talaga lahat ng mga tao ay makapunta po dito dahil po sa mga places nandito po, kagaya po ng mga Olives, Gethsemane, talagang napaka-special po itong place na Jerusalem. Pumunta po dito pang magtrabaho para po sa aming pamilya, para po sa aming mga anak. Kahit mahirap po, isinakripisyo po namin na mawalay po sa kanila para po mabigyan po namin sila ng kinabukasan. Kaya ganun din po sa kanila, alam. Pero tinitiis na lang po. Ang